Tennessee center Cooper Mays is going to be the reason the Tennessee Volunteers offense is back in the top 10 nationally. Let me show my work. It's a Friday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you. Friday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. When we're done here, check out Locked On SEC. Make that your second listen. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Big shout out to our friends over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook where you can make every moment more. Cooper Mays, going to be the reason why Tennessee's offense is back in the top 10. I'll tell you all about that, plus why he is the core and the strength of Tennessee's offensive line that's going to be good in 2024 in a matter of a couple of seconds. Lance Hurd, Tennessee's best transfer portal addition when it's all said and done. I'll tell you all about that, plus the tackles in segment 2. And Vyson Lang, Sham Umarov, they need to step up significantly in Tennessee's offensive line group here in 2024. That is the show rundown today, talking a lot about the trenches, and I do think it's going to be a big time reason why Tennessee is going to be returning to a top 10 team in 2024. So it's going to be a fun-filled Friday, and we start right now. Cooper Mays is going to be a fifth-year senior. Cooper Mays is going to lead Tennessee as one of the 3 player representatives for the SEC Media Days when Tennessee goes out there on Tuesday in Dallas, Texas. Cooper Mays has started games dating back to 2020 when filling in for Brandon Kennedy during the COVID-shortened season. He's been a full-time starter in the 2021 season, the 2022 season, and the 2023 season. Sure, he's missed some time, and that's another reason why Cooper Mays, a healthy Cooper Mays, is a reason why Tennessee's offense is going to get back to where it needs to be. Remember, year 1 under Josh Heupel, 7-5 regular season record, shocked everybody with a winning record, but also this offense was in the top 10 nationally. Okay, 2022, we know about the 11-2 record, the Orange Bowl victory. We know that Tennessee's offense was ranked #1 in the country in scoring and total offense. And then in 2023, it took a step back where you still scored about 31 points per game, but that was not ranked inside the top 10. Sure, there are other contributing factors there. Cooper Mays missed some time. Joe Milton is not Hendon Hooker. Some of the wide receivers have some of the blame in there, but a lot of these successful games and stretches of time and really all that over the Josh Heupel era are with Cooper Mays at center. And Cooper Mays is the most important piece outside of Nico Iamaleava to this Tennessee offense, bar none. Tempo, 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 okay? Think about this. I don't know if you ever thought about this. How does a play originate? Any given play, play 1, play 73 of the football game, how does a play originate? Well, the quarterback gets the ball first, right? No, it's the center. And I know I'm sounding elementary here, but in a tempo offense where Tennessee's trying to run 3 plays in the span of a little over a minute, the center has to get the football from the umpire who sets it. The center has to get on there, hand on the football, allowing the guards, allowing the tackles to go and get their spots, allowing the receivers to go line up on the line or off the line, allowing the quarterback to get his proper depth, the running back in his back hip pocket, the tight end is the H-back or the slot or wherever he is. It all starts with the center. If you have a center who is grasping for air, who has hands on his knees, who is tired, who is not setting that tempo, then this truly isn't a tempo offense. And that is part of one of the reasons why Tennessee has an advantage for most games, in my opinion. People will call it gimmicky, whatever it is. Tennessee's produced a top 10 offensive tackle in the last 2 years ago NFL draft. So call it gimmicky all you want. I think it works, right? But Cooper Mays sets all that, and he's always in shape, and he's always a leader of this offense. But there were some times where he missed the first couple of games of last football season, and Ollie Lane had to slide down there and play center because Tennessee didn't have a true backup center. We'll talk more about the backup center in segment number 3. But in 2021, you saw Jerome Carvin have to slide down and play center. I think both Ollie Lane and Jerome Carvin did a fine job, but Tennessee wasn't maximizing what he could do without Cooper Mays at center. So in what should be a veteran-led offensive line room, the most important piece is obviously Cooper Mays, and he is the second most important piece of this Tennessee offense outside of the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. Spot the lie. If you disagree, @_Kaner at Locked On Balls would love to kind of go back and forth. And I mean, my word isn't final. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I truly believe Cooper Mays is the most important piece outside of the quarterback in this offense. But he is one of several veterans on this offensive line. We're going to take a look at the right side of the offensive line here over the next couple of minutes. Cooper Mays there at center. I've already given his resume out, right? I mean, he started couple of games in the 2020 season as a true freshman out of Knoxville Catholic High School when he was weighing literally about 265, 270. He's put on some weight, and he looks like an SEC offensive lineman now, but he started some games dating all the way back to 2020. Full-time starter 21, 22, 23, and now coming into 2024. Javonte Spraggins, who was also in that true freshman class in 2020, staying for a fifth year. He saw a little bit of playing time in the 2020 season, but he's been a full-time starter since Josh Heupel's been here, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And if not for tearing up his knee towards the end of this past season, I mean, he's been super durable. He's been in there pretty much every snap, and he's a guy that nobody really talks about. But like Cooper Mays, a veteran, has tons of snaps under his belt, okay, who has just been there pretty much every snap of the Josh Heupel era. That the same can be said for Javonte Spraggins. He has been a constant. He has been a theme in this offense. And we'll see exactly kind of where he is. I haven't heard much chatter about Javonte Spraggins over the offseason. Of course, he went down with a knee injury, missed the final game of the regular season, missed the bowl game. We know about that. But I would assume that he's going to be full go and ready to roll, come week 1 of the season. Maybe he'll have a maintenance day here and there. Again, he is a fifth-year senior. He knows the system. He knows this offense. You want to get some reps, don't get me wrong, but if you miss a day or two in camp for Javonte Spraggins or Cooper Mays, I think it's going to be okay. Javonte Spraggins might be one of the most underrated pieces of this Tennessee offense, and he slides in there at right guard. So you got center Cooper Mays, veteran, tons of snaps. Javonte Spraggins, a right guard, veteran, tons of snaps. Then you have John Campbell, and John Campbell, who is going to flip from left tackle over to right tackle because of the man we're going to talk about in segment number 2, Lance Hurd. He's only been in college for 6 full seasons. He's going on his 7th season in college football. Yes, the COVID years are about to be a thing of the past, thankfully, but you have red shirts, you have medical red shirts, you have COVID years, and John Campbell is about to suit up for the 7th fall of his collegiate career. Is he an all-SEC performer? I wouldn't go that far, but he was a standout offensive lineman at Miami. He was one of Tennessee's better offensive linemen when in the lineup last year. Durability an issue, though. Durability for him, he's got to be on the field more. That is for certain. He missed too much action. He missed too much time last season. But John Campbell is a veteran. John Campbell is experienced in this league. And you look at that right side, starting with the center and Cooper Mays, that right side of the offensive line should be really, really good for the University of Tennessee. Then you have other guys that I'll touch base on here in the last little bit of this segment. Dane Davis, who's going to be the swing man, who, again, I'll get into more as the show goes on, but Dane Davis can line up anywhere on this offensive line. A former walk-on turned scholarship player during the 2020 season. He started games for Tennessee. He's played in the Swamp. He's played at Bryant-Denny Stadium. He's played against Georgia. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. He's played center. He's practiced at guard. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. And what a luxury it is to have a 6th-year guy in Dane Davis come back to the program here and be a vital piece of what I think is going to be a really good offensive line. Will he be a starter day 1? I don't know. We don't know about left guard yet. Will he play significant time as being the swing man? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and that's a good thing for Tennessee. A guy who could be the starting left guard is Jackson Lampley, who started against Vanderbilt in the regular season finale, who started against Iowa in the Citrus Bowl, who, like Dane Davis, has been here for a minute. In-state kid, a prodigy. His dad played here at the University of Tennessee, and a player that has been around the block here at the University of Tennessee and knows this offense inside and out, good teammate, and very easily could start at left guard. So those are the type of veterans sign me up I want on my team. Guys who have been here, know all this type of stuff, know the culture, and know the expectations of this offense. You also have Andre Carrick, who started the first couple of games at left guard last season, transferring in from Texas. He had a season-ending injury and all that. I wouldn't say that he's the most talented offensive lineman, but again, is another guy that has been in the system and has started games. So starting at Cooper Mays, who, again, should be the most important piece of this offense outside of quarterback Nico Iamaleava. You look to his right, you have Javonte Spraggins, who's about to be a 4-year starter and change because he started some as a freshman. Look at John Campbell, who's about to be a 2-year starter in this system, a 7th-year player overall in college football. You look at Dane Davis, who is about to be a 6-year player and a swing man on the offensive line. Jackson Lampley, a 5th-year player in the interior. And Andre Carrick, who has started games in this league. Tennessee has a great veteran group on the offensive line for an offensive line that was 10th in the nation in rushing, 2nd in rushing in the SEC, and shouldn't give up as many sacks, though that wasn't a a huge point of emphasis last year, but shouldn't give up as many sacks this year because you do have a quarterback that can help you out as well. Tennessee's offense is going to return back to the top 10 nationally in points per game and total offense because of a healthy Cooper Mays and because of a veteran-led offensive line that has the names of Javonte Spraggins, John Campbell, Cooper Mays, and so many more. Lance Hurd, however, probably the best transfer portal addition of the offseason for Tennessee, and he's going to take Tennessee's offensive line from above average to pretty good to great in 2024. That is coming up next. We continue on here on a Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to see about our friends over at eBay Motors? Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and leveled up to peak performances. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or die every time, or your money is back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car, turn your car to that MVP, and bring home huge wins. Keep a ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay, welcome back in here to your Friday edition of Locked On Vols. When we're done here, make Locked On SEC your next listen, your next watch. Here at Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Lance Hurd, the biggest, the best, no pun intended, the best transfer portal addition for Tennessee this offseason. And think about some of the guys that Tennessee reeled in here via the transfer portal. Lance Hurd, of course, Chris Brazzell, wide receiver, Holden Stays at tight end, Jackson Moy on the defensive front, Jamal McCoy at cornerback, Jacoby Thomas at safety, so on and so forth. There are a couple more. Lance Hurd's going to be the most important, and Lance Hurd's going to be the best, in my opinion. And I think Chris Brazzell has a chance to start in this offensive wide receiver. If he doesn't start, he's in the rotation. And certainly next year, as a junior, Chris Brazzell should be the guy, in my opinion, along with Squirrel White, who will be a senior at that point in time. But Lance Hurd's going to be the best. Why is that? Well, we know about Lance Hurd. If you're an everydayer here, we've talked about him plenty of times. If you're a casual Tennessee fan, you know about Lance Hurd. Coming over from LSU in the transfer portal, he was a true freshman last year. He was the number one signee for the class of 2023 for LSU, okay? Former five-star. And he went and you know, he didn't redshirt. He played a little bit, but he was not a starter for the Tigers last year. And you look at why. Why was he not a starter? So it's easy to say, oh, this guy's going to be so great. This guy's going to be awesome. Why wasn't he starting at LSU? Well, Will Campbell, who I mentioned as being the top-rated player from the SEC in the new EA Sports College Football 2025 game, is there at left tackle. Okay, he's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be a top 10 pick next year, along with James Pierce, most likely, of Tennessee. On the other side, you have a guy by the name of Emory Jones, who is a top 100 player according to the video game rankings that were released earlier this week, coming in at 92 player ranking, a 93 overall or something like 92 overall, something like that. Two pretty good tackles. In this era, and I'll actually touch base on this here in a moment, I'll kind of circle back around to it in terms of some of the other tackles. This era of the transfer portal, player empowerment. You're not going to stay here and wait your turn like you would in the old days. Some may do, and that's fine. Others now have the opportunity, if you so choose, to enter your name in the transfer portal and see if there's a need at some other team around the SEC or anywhere in college football to where you could see the field faster. And that's what Lance Hurd did. So, sure, he was a backup as a true freshman last year. Not many players, not many tackles talking about David Sanders right now in recruiting. Tennessee, Ohio State, 5-star of the class of 2024. Somebody asked us in the VolQuest chat on Monday night, you know, is he going to, if he signs, essentially, is he going to be a day one starter at tackle? I have a hard time saying that anybody will be a day one starter at offensive tackle because it's such a huge position at this level of football. Your body is not where it needs to be. A lot of times your durability is not where it needs to be. Your being in shape, all that type of stuff. But my point is, it's hard to start. I mean, Darnell Wright came in and started, and Wanya Morris started as true freshman in 2018 or 19 for Tennessee. Tennessee's team was not very good then. Tennessee's team was not very good then under Jeremy Pruitt. It happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. My point is, Lance Hurd came in, sat behind those two really good offensive tackles. Both of those guys were coming back, looking for another opportunity, and now he's here at Tennessee. Lance Hurd, you look at the way he was recruited for the University of Tennessee LSU, coming up as a 5-star in the class of 2023. You look at the On3 industry rankings, he was a 5-star offensive tackle. He was considered the 22nd overall prospect in the class, the 4th best offensive tackle, and the number 2 player from the state of Louisiana. Stayed home, went to LSU. On3 had him as the 11th highest rated player in the class. 247 Sports had him as the 16th highest rated player in the class. ESPN, which again, we put no stock in ESPN's rankings, and I don't know why we still consider and take those to heart, ESPN's rankings, had him at 51st. And that's why his On3 industry ranking is further down to 22, because you have ESPN that ranked him at 51. Even Rivals.com had him at 27. And I mean, there are good people over there that know what they're doing. 27. So my point is, he was considered one of the best players, regardless of what ESPN had to say, because they don't know what they're doing in recruiting rankings. He was one of the best players in the class of 2023. You look at his player comp. They compared Lance Hurd coming out of high school to a guy that played at Alabama, offensive tackle DJ Fluker. If you remember that name, I'm not very familiar with that name. I'm not going to lie. I did a little research on him. He was a first-round pick in 2013 by the Chargers, 11th overall in the first round. He was in the recruiting class of 2009, so it's been a minute. I mean, I was in the high school class of 2010, so he's actually older than I am. DJ Fluker, he was a 5-star prospect, 6'6", 335 pounds coming out of high school. This is what they had to say about his comparison to DJ Fluker for Lance Hurd coming out of high school. We see several similarities between Lance Hurd and DJ Fluker as high school prospects. Both have supreme length with arms that measure in the 36-inch range. They also both began their careers as defensive linemen before taking up offensive tackle as upperclassmen. There are similarities on the field as well. Like Fluker, Hurd is a strong run blocker who plays with a physical edge. Hurd is about an inch taller than Fluker and weighs less at the same stage, though we wouldn't be surprised to see their ultimate playing weights be similar in the 330-pound range. And you look at what Lance Hurd is right now over at utsports.com, 6'6", 340 pounds. So obviously he has caught up in terms of the weight. But Lance Hurd was a really, really good prospect coming out of high school. Last year, as a true freshman reserve offensive tackle, he had 54 snaps against Grambling. He had 19 snaps against Mississippi State. He had 59 snaps in a game against Auburn. He had 58 snaps in a game against Army. He had 5 snaps in a game against Georgia State. And he had some really good numbers here. 85% against Grambling, 69% against Army, 76% against Georgia State. Didn't play that well against Auburn with 59 snaps, but overall graded out pretty well according to Pro Football Focus. Had a total of 195 snaps offensively for the Tigers in 2023. Lance Hurd is going to take this offensive line from good to great, because you're getting an elite tackle out there at left tackle. So we know about the center, Cooper Mays. We know about the right guard, Javonte Spraggins. We know about the right tackle in John Campbell. We know there's a position battle at left guard, and we've been talking about that, and we'll continue to talk about that. But your left tackle, everybody healthy, is going to be Lance Hurd. And he's going to be an elite tackle, and one that Tennessee hasn't had since the likes of Darnell Wright. Lance Hurd's going to be that good, and that's why he's going to be the most important and the best transfer portal addition for Tennessee this past offseason. So we talked about Lance Hurd a little bit and kind of how he got here and all that. Other tackles that if Hurd or Campbell were to go down or helmet pops off or whatever the case may be, heaven forbid they're out for a couple of weeks or whatever, but you saw that with John Campbell last year. You have the swing man in Dane Davis, who would be first off the bench and who, again, has played 60 snaps at Bryant-Denny Stadium, has played and lined up in the swamp, and he's played, Georgia at Sanford Stadium. He's been all around this league. Not a bad reserve player, right? Jesse Perry and Gage Ginther, 2 mid-year early enrollee freshmen in the class of 2024. And they had really good springs. Jesse Perry, who didn't really pass block as much as a high school player here in the mid-states, came on and had a really, really good spring practice. Gage Ginther as well, who can play guard, can play tackle from the state of Colorado, had a really, really strong spring. Larry Johnson who was the junior college signee from a couple of cycles ago that came in here and he was always too big and needed to lose some weight. If it wasn't Dante Thornton that had the best spring for Tennessee, if it wasn't Jesse Perry that had the best spring for Tennessee, it was probably Larry Johnson. Do I think Larry Johnson's going to start in this offense? No, it's going to be John Campbell or it's going to be Lance Hurd. First guy off the bench is probably Dane Davis. But if push comes to shove and if he continues to play, man, Larry Johnson's put himself in position to be a guy that Tennessee doesn't care to put out there if need be. And that was not the case. Not the case whatsoever his first year here in Knoxville. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is a lot of people are saying, well, you really only have two players in Dane Davis at tackle. You only have two options in Dane Davis at tackle. Look around the landscape of college football, specifically the SEC. How many teams can go 3 or 4 deep and you feel really good about at offensive tackle? I'll wait. Nobody. Why? Because look at LSU. Perfect example. You've got Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Lance Hurd. Number 1 signee for the class of 2023 in LSU, and he comes in here, doesn't play, leaves for another opportunity. Transfer portal changes things, everybody. And so when you look at Tennessee's depth, having Dane Davis as a swingman, you feel good. And then seeing the likes of Jesse Perry, Gage Ginther, and Larry Johnson step up and be in a position, Larry Johnson at least, that they can maybe, Jesse Perry and Gage Ginther are a long ways away, and so is Larry Johnson. But at least you wouldn't feel horrible if you had to throw him in there in a bind, that being Larry Johnson. Not bad at all. But Lance Hurd is a reason why I think Tennessee's, along with Cooper Mays, Lance Hurd is going to be the best transfer portal addition, but also take this offensive line from good to great, take this offense and put it back inside the top 10 nationally. Vyson Lang has got to step up for Tennessee football. Why? I'll tell you all about that here in a moment. We continue on here with a Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook. I love sports. I know you love sports as well. I love them so much, I never want sports to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and sports, they're not sporting like they need to be, right? But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up big bets, and anytime I am in the mood. And this summer only, FanDuel is hooking up all customers, not just new customers, not just existing customers, all customers for a boost or a bonus every single day. A daily bonus. How about that over at FanDuel Sportsbook? That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Again, not just existing customers, not just brand new customers. Every customer over at FanDuel Sportsbook can get a daily bonus or boost every single day. Head on over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most of your summer today. FanDuel, it is America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, it's the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back in here to your Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Everydayers, couldn't do it without you guys. Really do appreciate you, and thanks so much for making us your first listen, your first watch every single day. Don't forget Locked On SEC. Make that your second listen here today, your second watch. Chris Gordy does an awesome job taking a conference approach, a regional approach to the Southeastern Conference, and plenty of Tennessee Volunteer talk on that as well. Vyson Lang has got to step up. Does anybody get Addison Nickel vibes a little bit with Vyson Lang? We're not to that extent to where it was truly, last year Addison Nichols literally was said, hey man, do you want to start at center? Go start at center. Hey man, do you want to start at left guard? Go start at left guard. We were there. All he had to do, and I'm not trying to, he's no longer here anymore. He's at Arkansas, left via the transfer portal, and I liked Addison. I covered him in recruiting. Great guy. Love talking to him. I'm rooting the best for him. I like him a lot. But all he had to do was take it. And how many times in situations for me or for us, in your line of work, maybe in your athletic career, in your job, you have something there and it's just like, dude, just take it. Just take it. Or maybe that's been you before. It's like you just don't understand how close you are to grasping that opportunity. And you learn from it, move on. That was Addison Nichols last summer. Cooper Mays was out the first month of the season, guys, and Tennessee did not have a backup center. It was Addison Nichols, and finally they were like, Addison Nichols cannot be our center. So we're going to slide Ollie Lane down. Dane Davis is going to be he's going to pick up position number 5 on the offensive line on his resume. He's going to learn how to snap the ball as well. Both those guys snapped the ball for Tennessee over the first month of the season. But then since Ollie Lane slid down, it was like left guard. Hey, Addison Nichols, you want left guard? He just didn't take it. And I'm saying all that to say this spring and last spring, Tennessee has been looking for a backup center. Tennessee's not had a true backup center since Cooper Mays was the backup center to Brandon Kennedy back in 2020. Tennessee's not had a backup center. Prior to Brandon Kennedy, it was Ryan Johnson who was the backup center, and so on and so forth. And that's an issue because Cooper Mays, this is his last year of eligibility in 2024. Tennessee will have to turn to somebody else to snap the football. And Vyson Lang, what an opportunity to establish yourself as not only the backup center, but the center of the future for 2025 and beyond. If it's not Vyson Lang, then William Satterwhite, who's been getting a lot of reps in spring practice. And remember spring practice, you had Cooper Mays, who was missing some time. You had Javonte Spraggins, who was not in there. John Campbell, missed a little bit of time. But you had Lance Hurd getting all the snaps he could possibly get. And you had these young offensive linemen who were filling in: Vyson Lang, William Satterwhite, Jesse Perry, Trevor Duncan, and Sham Umarov, and just getting beat up by the likes of James Pierce, Amari Thomas, Omar Norman Lott, Bryson Eason, Elijah Simmons, Jackson Moy, Tyree West, Tyree Weathersby, Jason Jenkins. Defensive line is going to be good. We'll get into that. Obviously, we talk about that all the time, but we'll break down the defensive line as well as the probably next week. But it's good for them. It was good for them. They got beat up. They got beat up for a month straight. They got beat up for 15 practices. But you know what? Those bloody nose and those black eyes, they're going to turn into lessons learned. You're going to be better for that because from a talent standpoint, maybe not the best, but from a volume standpoint and how there's just no drop-off, Tennessee's defensive line can go toe-to-toe with any defensive line in the country this year. And these young offensive linemen, William Satterwhite, Vyson Lang, Jesse Perry, Aiden Bussell, Messiah Reddick, Max Anderson, Sham Umarov, they got better from that. So I'm intrigued to see what Vyson Lang does from what he learned in spring into fall camp because they need Vyson Lang to be the backup center. They need Vyson Lang to have some confidence, and they need to have confidence in Vyson Lang to say, hey, week one, you're going to be our center. You're snapping the football in 2025 when we kick things off because Cooper Mays is no longer going to be here. So, as always, one of the key storylines for Tennessee heading into fall camp, as it has been for the last couple of camp-like settings, spring practice or fall camp, it's who is going to be the backup center for the University of Tennessee. There are bigger fish to fry. We need to worry about the tight ends. We need to find out who the starter is at left guard, but I think the tight end position in general is a bigger question mark because we don't know what we're going to get. Jacob Warren's no longer there. Ethan Davis stepping up, Miles Kitselman coming in, Holden Stays coming in. That's great, but what does that position group look like? I've seen Dane Davis play. I've seen Jackson Lampley play. I've seen Andre Carrick play. I know what they are. They got to pick a starter, but I know what they are over there. And Sham Umarov as well is going to have his hat in the ring as well to see if he can be the starting left guard for the University of Tennessee. So Vyson Lang has got to step up. Sham Umarov has got to step up as well. Came in here, recruited as a tackle, can slide in and play guard. He will have every opportunity to win the starting left guard position as well. If he does not win it because you have three veterans ahead of you, there's nothing to hang your hat over. There's nothing to hang your head over. Take it, motivate it, and be a starter for this team in 2025 because you need it. Tennessee needs this young group of offensive linemen to step up because to this point, guys, and it's still, unless Sham steps up and takes the job at left guard, Tennessee, Josh Heupel, Alex Golish, now Joey Halsley, Glen Elarbee has never started an offensive lineman here at Tennessee in the 3 seasons Josh Heupel and the staff have been here that they recruited, signed, developed, and played. He's played some offensive linemen that he recruited, signed. Nobody's ever started. That is an issue, in my opinion. Tennessee's offensive line's been good. Again, 2022, total points, total offense led the nation. 2021, top 10 in both. 2023 was not as good as those 2 years, but it wasn't bad. Second in the SEC in rushing, 10th in the nation in rushing. Tennessee's offensive line's been really good under Glen Elarbee, but you've got to evaluate that talent, sign that talent, develop that talent, and play that talent. Or you're not going to be able to, be able to, reel in some of these 5-star prospects on the offensive line, like a David Sanders, like we continue to talk about. Some of these highly rated 4-star prospects, like a Juan Gasson, like a Josh Petty, all these guys in the 2024 cycle. So that's a big issue for me. Sham's got to step up in this left guard battle. Cooper Mays, center. Javonte Spraggins, right guard. John Campbell, right tackle. Lance Hurd is your left tackle. It's either going to be Sham Umarov, redshirt freshman coming up, or one of those veterans in Dane Davis, Jackson Lampley, Andre Carrick at left guard. Regardless, any way you want to spin it, Tennessee's offense is going to be pretty good. Tennessee's offensive line is going to be pretty good in 2024, this coming up fall. But these young guys, the Aiden Bustles, some of these names I haven't even mentioned yet, the Aiden Bustles, the Trevor Duncans, the Messiah Reddicks, the Max Andersons, the Brian Grants, the Bennett Warrens, who was not here in spring and, signed obviously and is here for the summer workouts, but will get his first crack at what Tennessee football truly is in fall camp, putting on the helmets and shoulder pads, a 4-star rated offensive tackle that everybody likes, but he's not practiced one time here at Tennessee. Those guys have got to develop, because it's one thing to have numbers, but if you don't have any faith in those numbers, then what do you have? I think Tennessee's offensive line is going to be really good this year. I think Tennessee's offensive line was vastly underrated last year. There were questions for sure, but I think Tennessee's offensive line was vastly underrated yet last year, and it's been a key reason why the run game, everybody from afar thinks Josh Heupel is just this run and shoot West Coast offense. Couldn't be farther from the truth. It's built on the run game. And with Jabari Small the last couple of years, Jalen Wright last year, Dylan Sampson has had a hand in as well. Now he's the feature back. It's because of this offensive line. This offensive line has been good, and I think that it can be great because of Cooper Mays, Lance Hurd, and company in 2024 this fall. I'm excited. I can't wait to watch the offensive line play and practice whenever fall camp opens up, now less than 3 weeks away. How good is this defensive line? There's a lot of guys, a lot of positions. They're going to play 13 guys. We're going to recap that, or preview that, I guess I should say. Look ahead to that next week's shows, and of course we'll look into some of the other position groups and why I believe this position group can be good to great or better than last year. That's coming up as football is right around the corner. SEC Media Day starts on Monday. Tennessee will take the stage on Tuesday. Major League Baseball draft starts on Sunday. Transfer portal for baseball continuing to swirl, but about to wrap up a little bit. All that and more, plus Tennessee football recruiting. Some big-time prospect announcements are going to be coming off the board in the coming days. One coming up on Saturday tomorrow. So looking forward to that as well. Guys, can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. Make Locked On SEC your second listen with Chris Gordy. We are a part of Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. This is Locked On Vols, and I am Eric Kane. Thank you, everydayers, for making the show what it is. You can always hit me up at _Kaner and at Locked On Vols. Be thinking about those mailbag questions for Tuesday's show as well. Have a great and safe weekend, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.